Well, the time has just gone 20 minutes past 9, and we still have got Africa Muslims Agency Pedals for Change. We'll be talking with Mohammed Tahir this morning, also planning for 2026, what you need to know about the Nusuk system. That will be towards the end of the broadcast this morning. But before that, in conversation, and this is heard on air, in conversation with Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, General Secretary of the Palestinian National Initiative and Medical Relief Leader. And this was an interview that was done earlier. So let's take a look and listen to what was discussed in conversation with Dr. Mustafa Barghouti.
Since 100 years. Because with the beginning of the Zionist movement, the Zionist movement is nothing but a settler colonialism happening in the 20th and 21st century. Like the settler colonialism you had in South Africa. But the difference here is that the settlers who came to Palestine claimed there are no Palestinians. And the difference is that in your case, you were exploited, you were oppressed, you were subjected to apartheid, but they didn't kick you out of your country mostly. In our case, they oppress us, they ethnically try to cleanse us as well. And that's what they did in 1948, and that's what they are trying to do now. So from the end of the 19th century up till now, Palestinians have been struggling to stay in their land, to prevent the Israeli theft of their land. When Israel was established in 1948, it was established on a land that was 82% Palestinian. It was belonged to Palestinians. Now it's only 3.5%. Israel confiscated all of that land from the Palestinians or took it over after displacing its owners. And so it has been systematic, but Palestinians never stopped struggling. They had a revolution in 1929. They had a huge revolution in 1936, which lasted for 3-4 years. They had lots of struggle in the 40s, and especially during the war in 1948, when they were displaced from their land. And then later, they were conducting every form of struggle, not only military struggle, as some people would think, but most of our struggle was mostly non-violent, and always faced with severe violence from the Israeli side. Even, by the way, Gaza. By the way, before October 7th, from 2014 to 2019, even Hamas and other parties were committed only to nonviolent resistance. There were no military actions, hoping for the world to interfere and restrain the Israeli military force. But this never happened, and that led to what has happened later. So it's a continuous struggle, but 1987 was a remarkable time because that's when the vast majority or all Palestinians realized that we have to use a different strategy, principles that I practice. One is second, self-organization, and third, defying the Israeli measures, the occupation measures. The Palestinian people, when they did the uprising in 1987-88, and it went on for several years, were all unified, all in under one united leadership, unified leadership. And it was an amazing example of how powerful nonviolent resistance can be. Unfortunately, it was crushed with Israeli oppression, but mostly it was crushed by the signing of the terrible Oslo Agreement, which was a big mistake from the side of the Palestinian leadership when they signed an agreement with Israel without demanding what we have been calling for, which is total and complete freeze of all settlement activities on Palestinian land. And the result is that then we had 121,000 illegals or terrorists. Now we have 800,000 of them. So if Oslo did not happen, I believe we would have had an independent state. That's already history. And now we have to struggle for our survival. I mean, in Gaza, the medical organization I told you about have just suffered a big airstrikes. In Gaza, the airplanes bombarded 4 of our clinics, just clinics that provide healthcare and medical care to people, to injured people, to people who suffer from diabetes and hypertension, to children who suffer from malnutrition, to pregnant women. There is no reason to attack medical centers. They destroyed all our 4 medical centers in the Gaza city and trying to deprive the population of Gaza City from any medical services or any medical care.
Mm. And it's interesting the Oslo Accords because it kind of encroaches to the next question that I have to you. You you always speak about how it's were doomed to fail, from the inception. How can you unpack a bit further on that? How were they doomed to fail from inception, and what circumstances around the Oslo peace process would you say ultimately led to their failure?
Well, what has been proven is what I have anticipated and wrote about for many years, which is that this Zionist Israeli movement, which is absolutely extreme and fascist, does not believe in compromises and did not believe in a compromise called two-state solution. So when they signed Oslo agreement, they signed it only because they wanted to achieve 2 goals: to gain time for their settlement expansion in the West Bank, to change reality on the ground, and second, to diffuse the effect of the first intifada, which changed the balance of power and made it impossible for the Israeli army to continue ruling people through the system of occupation and apartheid. And they got those goals achieved. The
Mm,
problem with Oslo agreement was 3 things. First of all, as I told you, it did not insist on settlement freeze, and that's why we have what we have now. Second, it included unequal recognition. The PLO recognized Israel without Israel recognizing a Palestinian state. All Israel recognized the PLO as a representative of Palestinians.
mm,
Third, it did not include the release of all Palestinian prisoners. And I compare that with what Nelson Mandela did when he insisted that all prisoners would be released before you can talk about a solution.
mm,
The principles here were violated. And the third mistake was that the PLO signed an interim agreement without insisting on the final outcome, the final result. There is a difference here between what the Oslo negotiators from the Palestinian side did and what Mandela did in South Africa. You see, for Mandela, there was one principled position, which is that one man, one vote.
mm,
People will have equal votes. He knew that by insisting on that, this will bring democracy to South Africa, and democracy will bring peace. In
mm,
our case, unfortunately, they did not insist on the principle, which is ending the Israeli occupation of occupied Palestinian territories. And they signed an agreement without even including that. And Israel used Oslo to expand settlements, and now they killed it. They put it in the garbage. And even the Palestinian Authority now is attacked by Israel. And every element in Oslo agreement has vanished because Netanyahu came to power to kill it.
mm, mm. Yeah, most definitely. I want to move on to another point of your personal life. In 1979, you founded the Palestinian Medical Relief Society. What was your vision when you established it, and how did you see it evolve over time as the discourse around the Palestine-Israel debacle also continued to evolve and become what we know and see it to be today?
Well, when we founded Medical Relief, people were suffering from terrible health situation. And the Israeli occupation was completely neglecting the medical and health needs of the people. So most communities did not have even clinics or health centers. The infant mortality rate in Palestine was 150 per thousand, which means 15% of all children would die reaching the age of 1 year. And Israel didn't care. At that time, in 1979, Israel was spending something like $6 per capita for Israelis on healthcare, while on Palestinians, it was spending only $18 per capita. So we needed to create an independent health system from occupation. And that's why we started as volunteers, I mean, as a voluntary health movement. Of course, when we started, I didn't think it would become such a huge institution. But it did. Health volunteers moving around from one part of the country to another with mobile teams, spending our time on weekends to help people. Gradually started building permanent clinics and health centers and then health programs. Now the medical relief is serving about 3 million Palestinians every year, including, by the way, at this moment, we have 80 medical teams in Gaza serving about 200,000 people every month. So it became the most important non-governmental Palestinian grassroots organization that cares about medical and healthcare. And I am very proud of that. I'm very proud of all these wonderful people who are working with us, risking sometimes their lives in the most difficult situation when there are attacks on people. Our first on the front line in West Bank and in Jerusalem, whenever they are needed there to help the injured and to help people get medical and health care when they are under siege, which is frequently happening by the Israeli side. So Medical Relief now is a very prominent organization. I'm so proud of it. A few years ago, it won the award from World Health Organization for best initiatives in primary healthcare. And I hope it will continue to help our people in every possible way, regardless of the fact that Israel has destroyed so many of our clinics now by bombarding them in Gaza.